Okay, hi everyone. I hope this video finds you well. So today you are going to create your first program. It's called Hello World. So it's a simple program that just prints the phrase Hello World. So it looks like something like this. Hello World in a black console on your screen. That's it. But this program is a program that is often the first program that is written when learning a new programming language. So why do you think programmers, even experienced ones, write Hello World as the first program? Now the answer to that is because they want to make sure that they can compile a first or a simple program and they can get visible feedback from the system. These are the reasons why experienced programmers do that. Now, it's simple enough to be understood with the guidance of a teacher or a reading guide. In addition, it's a useful sanity test to language tool. You check the compiler if the compiler is working or not, the whole development environment, and the runtime environment. So without an integrated development environment, IDE, configuring the programming tools is a complex and a long task. So usually it's going to be compacted in IDE, Integrated Development Environment, where you can just go write your code and run your program to get an output. So for this reason, a simple program is used first when testing a new programming environment. So we always try a very simple example first, like the Hello World. So the widespread fame of Hello World. So the Hello World program first showed up in Kernighan and Ricci, the C programming language, an amazingly short guide to the most used languages at that time. So C++, which is something you're going to learn during this quarter, this is the programming language of this course, is a child of C. And C is the base or the parent of C++. So C came first. It was a little bit complicated. Then they made things easier to program in C++. So since then, it has become common to begin the description of language by providing Hello World example. So you're going to use Visual Studio 2017 or 2019, depending on your version of Visual Studio. Basically, this is Integrated Development Environment, IDE. So it's a group of tools that are put together to help a developer write a code faster, investigate bugs more easily, and make the code easier to read. There are many different IDEs like Eclipse, NetBeans, Codeblocks, Unity, and many others. But for this course, we are going to use Visual Studio. And as I said, you can use 2017 or 2019. So when you start creating a program, you're going to open the Visual Studio 2019, for example, and it's going to look like this. This is the first window you're going to have. So you create a new project, then you search for C++ in the next window, and choose Console App. Now, Console App is going to be something ready for you with Hello World. Now, you can use empty project, but then you're going to write every bit of your code. It's going to be like empty sheet. Then hit next. Then choose the name of your project, like Hello World. Now, you can choose where it's being stored, the whole project folder where it's being stored, or just leave it with the default path. The default path, for example, for me is C users, my username, then source repositories. Okay, then next, or create. Now you are ready to start coding. So after that, here's the code that you will find inside, because we chose console app. If we chose empty project, then you're going to find this exact thing, hello world.cpp, and this is the extension of C++ source files. You're gonna find it empty. Because we chose console app, we find this code inside. So don't worry about this code, what exactly each statement does, because we are going to explain every bit of this code in next lectures. But now, after you did that, you can select build, then build hello world. Now, build is going to be static, but the hello world is basically your project name. Or you can use build solution. So when you click build, it will compile your code, then link it to the libraries we have used in this project, like this library, IOStream. And then it will create an executable file. This is what it's going to do, the build process. Now, remember, whenever you choose build hello world or build your project name or build solution, remember that you're doing this build process. Your source code is being checked for syntax errors, then converted to machine code or object code. Then the object code is being linked with libraries existing code, and an executable file or executable program is being created and stored on the disk. Now, whenever you do that, think of the build process. Now, the output of the build process is, okay, build started, here's the project name, the configuration is we are debugging on 32-bit device, and hello world.cpp is the source code. Here is the object code being created, and we are creating the hello world.exe, which is basically the executable file. And since we don't have any errors, the build is success and nothing failed. Nothing is up to date, because this is the first time we updated, we built, or we started the process, the build process, and nothing skipped. So when you run your code, you click on this little arrow, the green arrow. It's local Windows debugger. So click on that. Then when you click, remember this little arrow is doing two things: the build process, redoing that again, and then followed by the loader. So taking your source code, eventually having a executable file, then your executable file is going to be loaded, adjusting the memory and all these things. Then it's becoming a running process in RAM. So basically, this build is just going to create the executable file. But this one, the little arrow, is going to do both the build process and the loading process. Here is the loading process. Executable file on the disk is being loaded, which means we are adjusting memory addresses and all these things, setting up the CPU. Then we are having a running process in RAM, where the window pops up. Here is the window that is going to pop up. Hello world on a console. Now you can hit any key to close the window. Now, before explaining this slide, I'm going to show you how to create how to create a project, then run it, and how do we get to this exact folder. So let's go to start. Here is start. I'm going to have Visual Studio. Here's Visual Studio. I have 2017 and 2019. I'm going to choose 2019. Just give it a few seconds to load. And then I'm going to create a new project. So I'm clicking on a new project. Now I recently searched for C++ and shows console app, empty project. So, but when you do it first, you won't see this list. So choose C++, and then you can choose empty project where you write everything on your code from scratch, or run a code on Windows Debugger that prints hello world by default. So we are going to choose console app. Next. And now if I do hello world, let me try doing this. It's going to say no because you have another hello world project already existing in your path. So in this folder, in this path, I have a hello world. So let me just call it hello world 2. Hello world 2. And when we write the project name, we usually capitalize each word. So hello world 2, create that, and then there's no problem in creating that because I don't have it in the repository file. Okay, now here it is. I have this one. I don't want you to change anything. Just run this one. Now here's the build process starting doing that. Here is my source file, and here is the exe. Then the exe is being started. After that is being started, the output window, which was here, disappears, and this one shows up. Here is hello world. Now everything is perfect. How do we get to the exe file? Right click on this tab, open containing folder, then you would get to where the CPP file is. This is usually the CPP file I ask you to upload. Then when you go to up and you go to debug, here is the CPP file, the exe file, sorry. Here is the executable file. Here is the executable file. Okay, let's go to see what we are going to do with the executable file. Now, the executable file name is hello world.exe, but in our case, it was hello world 2. Remember, because I already have hello world existing on my machine. And let's try to run this one. So, run this one. Okay, flashes and disappeared. Again, flashes and disappears. What's wrong with it? So we need to pause the window. So basically what we ask the computer to say is just run the window and pause it. If you run it from this one, it's going to pause because basically it gives you these instructions. If you want to automatically close the console when debugging stops, enable this. So when you enable this, go to Tools, Options, Debugging, then automatically close the console when debugging stops. Basically, that is going to flash and disappears. But because it gives you these instructions, it's not going to disappear. So let me just go to Tools, Options, Debugging, and do that. Let's see if that is going to make it disappear. So we'd go to Debugging, and we are going to look for Automatically Close. Select that. And OK. Now when you try that, it's going to, as you can see, flashes and disappears. Again, flashes and disappears. So basically we have to fix that. The way we fix it, we want that window to be paused so we can see the output. So system pause. Now this window is going to be paused. Flashes then being paused, and then I click or press any key to exit this window. As you can see, now it's stopped. Now if I go back to where I was in the debugging, let me just click on this one. OK, as you can see, now it's being paused. You can press any key to close it. OK, here is we just added system pause. When you add this statement, it pauses the window once it appears, and you build the hello world again to get the executable file, or simply you can click on the green arrow. Green arrow is building and running. But if you want to run that from the file, then after you build that, you follow the build process. Now go to the file and run it. Now, when you run this file, it's only going to call the loader to load the hello world.exe. So you give it the exe file, it adjusts the memory and setting up this the CPU to receive it. Then it's becoming a run process in RAM. And here it is, hello world, right? Hello world. So if you want to ensure you don't lose your program, you will need to copy the project to USB or to online folder. Or if you are using your own machine, you can still have it in your machine. But usually I upload my projects on the cloud because I don't want to use them. So you have student Google Drive. You can create folder and name it like CS110 projects. Then you can upload folder and look for the path where your hello world is, and usually where your project is, and select this folder. Select this folder, not this one. This one is the whole folder. Select this one, the parent folder of the hello world, and upload it. Once it's uploaded, you can again, if you want, download it and run it on your program using the .sln file, something like that. If I go up a little bit, in my repos, I have a lot of programs. Here is hello world.exe. If I closed it, and if I want to run the project as a project, not the CPP file, the CPP file, the executable file can be run from debug, but the whole project, so I see the code and everything from the .sln file. You run that, and then you will have everything you had on that CPP file again. Give it a few seconds to load, and then it eventually loads with your previous code. Here it is, everything as it is. Okay, some key points from today's lecture. 1, when programming, always start with a simple example that you know should work. IDE is an integrated development environment. It's a set of tools to help programmers create, debug, and test programs. Here is the build process. When you hit build from the build menu, and when you run when you run your code from the executable file, it always do the running the loading process. But if you click the little green arrow, it does both. And that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Catch you in the next one. Peace.